Dear student, how are you? I think all of you are healthy during this corona situation. Today I will discuss tuberculosis meningitis or TBM, which is very important in your daily practices and also for your examinations. What do you mean by tuberculosis meningitis? Tuberculosis meningitis means infection of the meninges which cover the brain and spinal cord by the tubercular bacilli, resulting from complication of the primary tuberculosis or occurs concomitantly with miliary tuberculosis. That is, infection by the tuberculosis bacilli of the meninges covering the brain and spinal cord and intervening CSF results from primary tuberculosis or from miliary tuberculosis. Now, epidemiology. Age most common in 6 months to 4 year old. Development of symptoms usually requires 6 months of primary pulmonary tuberculosis. So, it is rare before 6 months of age. Source of infection is primary infection, usually pulmonary focus, rupture of one or more subependymal or parameningeal tuberculoma after many decades or concomitantly with miliary tuberculosis. Now, risk factors: unimmunized against tuberculosis, overcrowding, poor hygienic condition and malnutrition. These factors produces to tuberculosis infection. Route of transmissions mainly hematogenous route and less commonly intracranial lymphatics. Pathogenesis: how tuberculosis bacilli enter into the CNS. Tuberculosis bacilli enter the meninges through hematogenous route or intracranial lymphatics from the cervical lymph node. Then formation of the tuberculoma in the CNS, initially small tuberculous foci which is called the Risch foci. This foci present the meninges, subpial, subependymal surface of the ventricles or spinal cord and give rise to rupture of this foci into the subcutaneous space or into the ventricles, results in meningitis. And in the ventricles or CSF, there is proliferation of tubercular bacilli which produces intense inflammatory reaction and formation of gelatinous exudate throughout the CNS, mainly basal meninges, resulting in damage of the brain parenchyma. So, tuberculosis bacilli enter the meninges through the hematogenous route or intracranial lymphatics and goes to the meninges and producing tuberculoma. And when this focus ruptured, they enter into the subarachnoid space or ventricles where they producing intense inflammation and formation of gelatinous exudates throughout the CNS, mainly basal meninges, and producing sign symptoms. Lesions occurs in the cerebral vessels, intense inflammation. So there is cerebral ischemia, patient develops sign symptoms of hypoxia and convulsion, and there is compression of cranial nerves gives rise to cranial nerve palsy, usually third, fourth and seventh nerve, and also the sixth nerve. Cerebral edema gives rise to encephalopathy. There is obliteration of the basal cisterns, ventricular foramen gives rise to hydrocephalus. Patient may sometimes have the SIAD, syndrome of inappropriate secretion of ADH, develops due to hypothalamic or pituitary dysfunction. And pathology or choroid tubercle may be seen along the blood vessel of the choroid plexus and tubercular formation. This choroid plexus is pathognomic. Tuberculosis is pathognomic. It is seen by the fundoscopic examination. Clinical stages: 3 clinical stages. Roughly each stage lasts for about a week or so. Stage 1, stage of invasion or prodromal stage, last first 1 to 2 weeks. Stage 2, stage of meningeal irritation or meningitis, begins more abruptly. Stage 3, stage of coma or terminal stage. So there is 3 stages. Stage 1 means just prodromal stage, lasts for 1 to 2 weeks. Stage 2 means stage of meningeal irritation, and stage 3 means stage of coma or terminal stage. Now, what are the complications of TBM? Hydrocephalus, cranial palsy, blindness, deafness, speech impairment, mental retardation, diabetes insipidus, tuberculoma. All complications are same as acute bacterial meningitis, but most important is the diabetes insipidus and tuberculoma, which occurs in TBM. Diagnosis. Again, diagnosis depends on the history, physical examinations and investigations. From history, age of onset 6 months to 2 years, birth may occur at any age. Onset of disease insidious over a period of weeks, or sometimes may present with acute onset, resembles acute pyogenic or viral meningitis. Presenting symptoms depends on the stage of the disease. Most important is the high index of suspicion and unexplained neurological dysfunction. When patient present with unexplained neurological dysfunction and your suspicion is strong, you suspect patient suffering from TBM. In prodromal stage, usually non-specific symptoms, patients present with previously oil cile, active and playful cile, becomes suddenly irritable and restlessness. Low grade fever, loss of appetite, failure to thrive, headache, nausea, vomiting in case of older children, declining school performance, development of behavioral changes such as apathy, mood changes, constipation, and sometimes patient may present absent of focal neurological sign symptoms. So in prodromal stage, usually cile are previously oil, active and playful, and suddenly patient develop irritability and restlessness, which means sudden develop or gradually patient becomes irritable and restlessness. And patient's fever is low grade in nature, usually evening rise of temperature and with loss of weight, loss of appetite, failure to thrive, and some older children present with headache, nausea, vomiting. And some patients decline school performance and also change of behavioral changes, apathy, mood changes, and also some patients develop constipation. But in these stages, focal neurological sign symptom absent. Symptom of stage of meningitis, it characterized by the neurological sign symptoms, develops within 1 to 4 weeks of prodromal symptoms, which is characterized by the symptoms of meningeal irritation, the difficulty in neck bending, which is called the neck rigidity, symptom of raised intracranial pressure, which is characterized by the vomiting, effortless projectile vomiting, headache, in case of older children, bursting headache, convulsion. These are the cardinal features of raised intracranial pressure. Some patients may present with symptoms of focal neurological sign or symptoms of encephalitis, such as aphasia, speech impairment or slurred speech, disorientation, ataxia or involuntary movement, hemiplegia or movement disorders. Symptoms of stage of coma or terminal stage, loss of consciousness, hemi or paraplegia, stupor, coma, abnormal posturing, that's a decerebrate posturing or decorticate posturing. Already I discussed deterioration of the vital signs, eventually death. So this stage is very critical period. So in these stages, prodromal stage, meningeal stage, stage of coma, where conversion occurs, conversion occurs in stage 2. Now another manifestation of CNS tuberculosis is the tuberculoma. Tumor-like mass resulting from the aggregation of the caseous tuberculosis. Usually, tuberculoma presents like as raised intracranial pressure or space occupying lesion. Size adult, it is supratentorial Children, it is impratentorial, located at the base of the brain near the cerebellum, usually single or maybe multiple. Manifest clinically as a brain tumor, that is space accumulation, characterized by the fever, headache, focal neurological findings, convulsions, visual or gait disturbances, evidence of raise in intracranial pressure. Now you should take the first history of whether patient suffering from tuberculosis or presence of concomitant pulmonary tuberculosis. You should take the immunization history, whether BCG vaccine given or not. If BCG vaccine not given, there is risk to development of TBM. You should take the family history of TB, history of contact with open tuberculosis. These two factors are very risk factors for development of TBM. You should take the socioeconomic condition, overcrowding, poor hygienic condition, malnutrition, which leads to development of TBM. You should do the physical examination. In prodromal stage, appearance is ill looking, low grade fever, and if you do the measurement anthropometry, there is growth failure, that is weight loss. And in stage of meningitis, signs symptoms of meningeal irritation, which is characterized by neck rigidity, Karnik sign, Budzinski sign, but neck rigidity is not so marked as bacterial meningitis. This neck rigidity, Karnik sign and Budzinski sign already I discussed in case of acute pyogenic meningitis. Now signs of intracranial pressure, which is characterized by the bulge and tense anterior panternally in young infant, that is before closure of the anterior panternally. Enlarged head circumference, which is seen in the young infant before closure of the anterior panternally, and combination of hypertension and bradycardia with apnea or hyperventilation, papilledema in older children. And among the focal neurological signs, you may get the cranial palsy, that is oculomotor nerve, abductor nerve, auditory nerve, optic nerve, and facial nerves. And you may get the aphasia, slurred speech, disorientation, ataxia, involuntary movement, and hemiplegia. And signs of stage of coma or terminal stage, in that case you will get the unconsciousness of the patient may goes to coma, there may be decerebrate or decorticate posturing, irregular respiration, and fixed and dilated pupil, ultimately patient died. Other signs, cervical or generalized lymphadenopathy, absent BCG scar mark. If you do the fundoscopy, you will get the choroid tubercle on the retina, it is pathognomic, and you will get the papilledema. Now investigation. Among the routine investigation, complete blood count, hemoglobin may be low. If you do the TCDC, that is lymphocytic leukocytosis, and elevated ESR and CRP. If you do the access test, you may get the primary pulmonary tuberculosis or miliary mottling. And if you do the BCG test, 70% may be positive, and if you do the tuberculin test, 50% may be negative. And you should do the lumbar puncture for CSO study, which is diagnostic. If you examine the physically, pressure is raised, color is clear or straw or opalescent, there is cove wave formation, very important, it is pathognomic, cove wave formation. When CSF is kept on standing in undisturbed condition and at room temperature, there is a basketball net-like pedicle is formed, which is suspended from the upper end of the fluid on the test tube. It is diagnostic because it consists of tubercle bacilli, fibrin, and cells. And another examination is cytology. Cell counts 10 to 500 cell, usually lymphocyte. Predominance normal is less than 5 lymphocyte, but here lymphocyte is more. There is neutrophilic predominance in early period. So if you do the cell count, there is lymphocytic predominant. Among the chemical examination, protein level increase 100 to 1000 milligram per cent or more. Extremely high, 400 to 5000 milligram per DL, due to secondary to hydrocephalus and spinal blocks. In normal protein level only 20 to 45 milligram percent. So there will be 100 to 1000 milligram percent may be raised. Glucose level less reduced less than 40 milligram percent, but rarely less than 20 milligram per dl. Normal glucose level 40 to 80 milligram percent of blood. If you do the chloride level less than 600 milligram percent is pathognomic. Normal 100 to 120 milligram milliequivalent per liter. And if you do the ADA, adenosine deaminase, it is very high and it is very important examination. Bacteriology test, AFB staining 30% positive, and if you do the CFC culture 50 to 70% positive, you should do the gene expert test. For gene expert test, it may be positive, and PCR test. Now, gastric aspirates for acid plus bacillus and culture. Early morning gastric acid obtained before the child has arisen and peristalsis has emptied the stomach of the full respiratory secretions that have been swallowed overnight. That is, you should do the gastric aspiration in empty stomach before rising from the sleep at morning. 3 consecutive morning gastric aspirates yield the organism in less than 50% of cases. If you should do the gene expert test from the sputum, CSF, gastric aspirate, or from tissue sample, but gene expert test not done from the blood. Sputum for AFB staining and culture. You know child cannot cough out in younger children, so in that case you may induce the sputum with a jet nebulizer, inhaled saline, or chest percussion followed by the naropharyngeal suctioning is effective in children as young as 1 year. Detection of tubercular antigen or antibody in CSF or blood, such as interferon gamma release assay or polymerase chain reaction. Investigation for complication, X-ray scalp or CT scan, you may get the calcified tuberculoma, sucellar diastasis, beaten silver appearance. If you do the CT of the brain, calcified tuberculoma, hydrocephalus. If you do the MRI of the brain, meningeal enhancement in basal cisterns, very pathognomic, very pathognomic. If you do the serum electrolytes in suspected SEER, in that case you get the low sodium. You should also do the investigation for treatment for liver function test before starting of the treatment with anti-TB. Now treatment. Again, treatment include counseling, specific therapy, supportive therapy, treatment of complication, follow-up, prognosis, and prevention. Treatment should be started immediately when TBM is suspected without waiting for confirmation of the diagnosis. Specific treatment, antitubercular drugs for 12 months. Remember, it is 12 months. 12-month anti-TB given is another condition, it is bone TB. There is 2 stages of anti-TB therapy, intensive phase and continuation phase. In intensive phase, 2 months, INS, rifampicin, pyrazinamide, and ethambutol. And continuation phase is 10 months, INS and rifampicin. Dose on INS is 10 mg per kg per day, and rifampicin 15 mg per kg per day, and pyrazinamide 35 mg per kg per day, and ethambutol 20 mg per kg per day. Previously, streptomycin given instead of ethambutol, but nowadays it is shown that erythromycin cannot enter the blood-brain barrier adequately. More like it has an adverse effect on auditory nerve, producing deafness. But ethambutol is easily cross the blood-brain barrier and toxicity is very less. All anti-TB drugs should be taken before breakfast and add in a single dose to achieve peak concentration for maximum effect on bacilli. So all TB drugs should be taken together in a single dose in empty stomach for better action. Steroid therapy. Prednisolone 1 to 2 mg per kg per day for a period of 4 to 6 weeks, and then gradually tapering by another 2 to 4 weeks. Steroid reduce the cerebral edema, subarachnoiditis, fibrosis, and spinal block. So, among the specific therapy, anti-TB and steroid therapy is needed for treatment of TBM. Now, if diagnosis of TBM is confused with bacterial meningitis, treatment should be started with empirical antibiotic therapy along with antitubercular regimen for 10 days. Most of the pyogenic meningitis patients improves within this period and then anti-TB therapy is discontinued. That is, if you start antibiotic along with anti-TB treatment and continue it for 10 days, and if it is bacterial meningitis, within 10 days patient is improved. But if it is TBM, patient's condition not improved, in that case stop the antibiotic and continue the anti-TB drug. Supportive therapy, diet, and the tube feeding if patient is unconscious, fluid, restriction of the fluid, again to prevent the seared and treatment of unconscious patient if present. Treatment of complication if present such as raised intracranial pressure, seared, and follow up the following therapy. Clinically, general assessment, that is vital assessment, neurologic assessment such as daily measurement of the head circumference to exclude the hydrocephalus, evaluation of the seizure, level of consciousness, pupillary reflex, cranial nerve examination, motor strength, observation of the development of papilledema, and laboratory study, laboratory test, liver function test, and renal function test. Prognosis depends on the age and stage of the patient. Poor in younger children. If patient present in stage 1, 100% cure rate, less sequelae. If in stage 2, 85% cure rate, but neurological sequelae develops 50% of the survivors. If patient present in stage 3, 50% survival rate, but most of them have permanent handicap or neurological sequelae. What are the neurological sequelae? Hemiplegia, quadriplegia, monoplegia, tremor, cranial palsy, decerebrate rigidity, decortical rigidity, plexus spasm. Differential diagnosis: pyogenic meningitis, viral meningitis, typhoid encephalopathy, brain abscess, brain tumor. Sometimes brain tumor may present with fever. Pyogenic meningitis is acute onset, previous history of air discharge, mustard discharge, head injury, characteristic CSF findings, turbid of purulent, markedly reduced glucose level, increased protein level, but no so marked like TBM, neutrophilic leukocytosis, and ground staining and culture shows the microorganism, blood culture 80 to 90% positive. In brain tumor, the insidious onset, headache and recurrent vomiting, usually afebrile, localized neurological sign, CT scan confirm the diagnosis. Now SAQ, which is given in your exam. 15 years old girl admitted with fever for 2 months. She had complaints of fever, headache, blurring vision. What are the DD? How evaluate the patient clinically? How will you investigate the child? Write down the treatment outlines. Now from above scenario, age of key points are: age of the patient is 15 years, sex is girl, and presentation is fever for 2 months, headache and blurring vision. So from above scenario, your DD are: first one is tuberculosis meningitis because fever is 2 months and patients present with features of raised intracranial pressure. And second DD is brain abscess. And third DD is partially treated bacterial meningitis. Why not brain tumor? Because patient present with fever for 2 months. Why not it acute pyogenic meningitis? Because in acute pyogenic meningitis, fever for 2 months without treatment, patient will die. So it will be excluded from this DD. How will evaluate the patient clinically? Evaluation from history and clinical examination. How will investigate the child? Investigation depends on the routine, specific, investigation for complication, and investigation for treatment. Write down the treatment outline. I will discuss today about the viral meningitis, viral encephalitis, and meningoencephalomyelitis, and also the tuberculosis meningitis. Both of these clinical conditions are very important in your daily practices and for your examinations. This lecture video will be available in YouTube channel who are not able to attend the class through the Zoom cloud. Thanks.